Go for green.
We're out of time. Congress is about to make the vote. How many candidates are we up to?
37, sir.
Can we filter out the candidates with incomes below 30,000?
Well, if we do that, we dropped 5 candidates.
Workable.
TROPOS. I really enjoyed this. I thought this was really well done and an interesting approach to a really, I think a problem that everybody has heard about, and because everybody's heard about it, maybe it has lost some of the like urgency or newness, and people aren't talking about it as much as maybe they should, even though it's still very much a problem. But I feel like when you hear of something like we've heard about climate change for so long, and it always feels like something that we're working on or needing to fix, or is still a problem, is still an issue, is still going to be a big deal, then it can lose some of the like urgency, and we need in finding a solution, or even in talking about it in general. And I thought that this was a really interesting way to approach it, to kind of make it to reinvigorate the conversation, I guess, and to still describe and show how much it is something that we still need to be talking about, we still need to be working on, we still need to be finding a solution for. I really liked the sci-fi elements that they used, and the relationships that they chose to go with like having a brother-sister pair in there, and then people that were dating, but by introducing everybody kind of at the beginning with the kind of flashback when they all got hired, and seeing where they progressed to within those 3 years, I thought gave a really good like reference or frame of mind for how all of the relationships ended up developing when you saw the 3-year jump. So I liked that you got to see kind of the beginning of how everything started, and then I felt like as you saw these relationships that have developed and increased and, you know, grown complex over the 3 years, as you're kind of like parsing that out, I think it's really fun to discover those nuances as you're watching the film. I also loved that these were just people that truly wanted to do good, and that they were tricked by corruption and greed, and they were their genuine desire to make the world better and do their part was, you know, taken advantage of, and that they really showed how simple it can be for something like that, and that the whole scheme itself, that everything was kind of unintentionally discovered due to like a not quite an accident, because he did intentionally take the watch without checking it out, and then later on got heckled and, you know, absolutely destroyed by like a 10-year-old. But I think that like the fact that that was the tipping off point, that's kind of what set everything else in motion, was him taking the watch and then disappearing for, you know, however many hours it ended up being. That without that, they probably would have just continued doing what they were doing and maybe not questioned things the way that they did. And maybe they would have, but like there's no way for us to know, especially because everything else started changing in their hierarchy and in the management with that, and that triggered part of the curiosity and part of the need to verify and check things out for themselves. And I think it just goes to show you, like, trust to a point, but also verify. And that, of course, climate change is still something that needs to be talked about and needs to be figured out, needs to be worked on, needs to be a part of the present conversation.
Tropos. I really liked this film. However, I feel like it's a little too long for a feature. I would really like to see it as a series. I can totally see this as a really good series. And maybe even longer. A longer series, like than just maybe a limited, just like a regular series that goes on for many seasons, actually. Because I like the idea a lot. I love the messages about the environment, but I love the way that you show it through this fun sort of mystery, with the cool effects and the seeds, and it's the teleporting and all of that. I think it's so entertaining. But seeing it as a feature, I think, takes away from some of that in a way. I feel like breaking it up and seeing it one at a time would be amazing. And the pacing might be better as well. Sound is a bit hard to hear sometimes on the voices, but other than that, I absolutely love this. I think the cinematography was good. I liked some of the beautiful shots of the cities, the master shots, and you know, there were some really great moments too, as far as certain scenes that I loved. There was a scene, you know, a great moment with, I think her name was Gwen, and the main character Dorian, where him and his sister have just a really nice moment together when he reveals what he does for a living. And all the characters, by the way, are really, really different and really work well together. So I really like that a lot too. And the performances were all really good. I like the different messages other than the environment that were included, such as, you know, learning to keep your promises or you'll be alone. And don't go worrying about what you can't do. Just worry about what you can do. Of course, that also, they're talking about the environment, but also I think that just is good for life. I just think this is such a creative way of spreading this great message. And I liked the effects of the teleporting, and the seed was a really good prop. And the, you know, the whole message of the overall, you know, you think this is just about a message about these people wanting to make the environment better until you see all of it. So what's really at play here. And I really liked the wardrobe detail. Gwen was wearing a shirt that said plant-based, I think, at one point. So I love that. And yeah, I think that's about it. I really, really enjoyed this. I actually don't want it to end. So to me, that shows how much I enjoyed the whole thing, the characters, the concept, the script, the editing, everything. So great job and good luck to you guys.
The story and the themes it explores, particularly the theme of climate change and how people are, you know, hesitant to believe it, how they continue to say that maybe it's not happening, maybe it's something from the government, and all of that nonsense. It's something that is being very discussed nowadays, and I think that what this film does in a great way is to show how these young folks that are, you know, recruited by the TROPOS program believe they are doing a difference. They want to help. They are trying their best. They believe in this program, but ultimately they find out that everything is, you know, as a trap. Well, it's not a trap, but it's not what they thought it was, and they have to rebel against that system, and they lose their powers, and ultimately they don't know if they're going to be able to convince people of what they know, but they're going to try anyway. And I think that last part is what makes it so good and so relevant, because these kids, they feel like these scientists all around the world are trying to tell us, that are trying to convince us that there's a, you know, a climate change, a climate disaster, a climate apocalypse, I would say. And yeah, people is not going to believe them, and they don't have proof, they don't have the evidence necessary to convince people all over the world about this. But they try anyway, so anyway, I'm rambling, sorry. Yes, so I think this was a very interesting film. It's a bit long, of course. It's over 2 hours, which is not ideal for for a new piece, but I think that it's compensated with a great effort from the cast. You can feel how all of these actors are very committed to this cause, and you really get to care about them and their characters. I love the dynamic between them, between the brother and sister, the love relationships with the other guys, and how there's some characters in the background that are kind of fishy on their intentions, but come on the right side at the end. So yeah, I think this was a very decent effort. The script is very interesting, the performances are very compelling, and again the team itself, it's great, and it works perfectly with what the filmmakers are trying to say with this project, with the teams. I think ultimately that the teams are the strongest element of this project. So yeah, I hope that you are able to find a way to, um, tell the audience more about this film, because it deserves to be more promoted. I really like it. So congratulations on making such an interesting film, and applauses to the whole cast and crew for putting such an amazing effort together. Yeah. So well done, and thank you for sending it.
This film was called Tropos. This was a fascinating feature. It was a very ambitious project for these talented, energetic artists. I love the writing in this one, so much intrigue and calculation by all the cast members. The use of teleporting gave the film a high-tech, supernatural feel. I loved the gadgets that they used. The chemistry between the cast members was amazing. All worked together so well. I loved the upbeat soundtrack under the action with piano and other instruments to keep the excitement up. Lots of lovely footage of New York throughout the film. It is a noble cause that this film addresses, young, smart people who care about the environment and want to make a difference. It was also very entertaining, lots of banter and some touches of romance. Well done.